That guy. Well, Civil Beat is releasing a 4-part series about foster kid abuse here in Hawaii. Chandler is here to talk about some of the challenges that he faced. Now, it was not easy to get this information. What did it take?
Well, John Hill's our investigations editor, and he spent a lot of time looking into this, and it sure shows from the reporting. It's quite shocking. But in a nutshell, his series reveals that there's a problem with the way child welfare services is conducted, particularly the foster care program. It centers in particular on a guy by the name of John Teixeira. He lived in Waimanalo. Over the decades, nearly 60 kids came into his care. Unfortunately, there's also a record of abuse, in particular one kid named JR, molested over 100 times, physical and sexual abuse. So John's series looks at this to try and figure out, why is this happening? What can we do about it?
Okay, so this first part kind of centers around a lawsuit.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Well, the lawsuit has to do with trying to find out more information about these cases. In this case, the state, meaning the Attorney General, represents the Department of Health, which includes foster care, right? That's what they do. Well, they don't want to reveal the information that's in these cases because, well, they're not allowed to do that by law. But here's the thing. John found out that actually this information was already revealed publicly in those documents that the state released in order to defend its case. So that's how we found out all this information.
And they were actually public for a long time.
Correct. You can see the information, and John reproduces much of that information in the case. I got to warn you, it's tough reading. We are talking about very serious abuse of people. We should tell you that these kids today are now in their 30s and 40s. Some of them are doing fine, others not so well. At least one killed themselves.
So in exploring this issue, what is kind of the hope here to reveal that that it's not still happening?
I think the takeaway really is that the state messed up along the way, that it really didn't do its oversight in terms of those caseworkers that follow the case, that didn't take seriously enough the complaints that were being made by these very kids. The investigations were lacking. Can we look to other states as models to improve our own? Ultimately, it's trying to help people and improve a system that, again, has been troubled for decades.
Now, this is the first part of a 4-part series, as we mentioned. Is there ever an answer as to why the state doesn't want to necessarily reveal the answers that were already made public before?
It's frustrating. You get right to the most important part, and that story is up today, part 2 of the series, and it really goes to the core that the state really just feels that it has to enforce the law, that it's not supposed to reveal things like names and details about places and times and whatnot. But in fact, when it's already been made public, it just kind of seems moot. So fundamentally, this is going to what can the state do to improve its system to take care of these kids.
And one thing that you do as journalists is that you do not reveal the names of the victims, even though you've seen pages and pages of these.
Yeah, unless there's been the consent on the part of the people involved, unless it's already been made publicly in other forums, we're just not going to do that. But in this case, the case of JR and John Teixeira, that information is made public because it's part of the court documents, and it was allowed for us to be used.
There's a lot to unveil here and unwrap, so I urge you to go and read this 4-part series. The second part up today. Civilbeat.org is where you'll find that. You can also text 66866 to get the newsletter. Sorry about that. 66866.
Thanks, Grace. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chad. Jelani.